On this week's podcast, I'm talking with Senior Licensed Reiki Master Teacher Julie Russell about blending Reiki into other modalities and other careers. This is chapter 10 of the Reiki Business Book. Thank you for being here with us today, Julie.
My pleasure.
Julie's in Orange County, California. If you want to look her up or take classes with her, we will have a link to her website in the notes for the podcast. I also wanted to let you know that if any of you are interested, we have our first combination of online and in-person classes coming up in a week's time. We have level 1 and 2 and masters, and these are licensed classes, followed by ICRT Animal Reiki level 1 and 2 and masters. And then a couple of weeks after that, I have a Karuna class and also animal communication. And I also want to let you know that in July, I have a 5-day level 1 and 2 and masters, which qualify people toward professional membership in the ICRT Reiki Membership Association. And I'm going to be offering that in an Asian and European friendly time. Those classes are online and they are going to be in the evenings in Asia. They're going to be very early mornings in North America, if you'd like to join us. And they're going to be regular time starting 9 or 10 in the morning in Europe. So I'd love to have you join us. They are a little shorter day and there's an additional day. So instead of 5 days, it'll be 7 days in total. And you would qualify as a professional member of the Reiki Membership Association. And then I've got a full lineup of classes coming again in person and online in October. So if any of those classes speak to you, I'd love to have you join us. Julie, what have you got?
I'm currently teaching Reiki 1 and 2. I do that monthly. My classes for this month and next month are full. But after that, I do have openings. And then I teach a Sui Holy Fire 3 online or in-person master class every 3 months. So if you go to my website, you can see when those classes are. Then I also do the Karuna class twice a year. So those, and I also have a Reiki drumming class coming up in, I believe, September. And that class is working with the drum in using it in personal sessions, in sessions with groups, in healing the earth. Also, we work on how to use pendulums, how to use sage, and how to connect to your animal spirit guides.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like an amazing class.
Yeah, it's super fun.
I wish we lived a little closer to each other.
I know.
On the opposite coast, but Julie, I wanted to ask you, you've got a lot of experience with this and you are such a busy person. And I felt that you were the perfect person to talk about blending Reiki with other modalities because you do so much of that. But before we go into that, I wanted to even ask you, what you think of the book. And I know that you're one of the people that has had an opportunity to see the fuller manuscript at this point. And I just wonder if you'd share your impressions.
I actually love your book. Some things that for me, I really loved is I love all the information. I love the storytelling. I'm a big person, even for me when I teach, I learn best from stories and how people implement what they learn and how Reiki guides them and expands things. So I love that. I also love that you had meditations and exercises in the different chapters that could help people grow and expand and widen their perceptions or even release fears of things that maybe they thought they weren't comfortable in trying or doing. I actually am planning offering a book club using your book and doing chapter by chapter with people who want to integrate Reiki more into not only whether they want to start a Reiki business or they want to integrate Reiki into whatever business or occupations they have, because that's what I do.
And then,
And I don't see Reiki as just having a Reiki business. That's one option
right.
of many that you can take this modality and use it for.
You said you even say in your classes something about that, about the manual that it's a starting.
I always say the manuals are a starting point, but Reiki's so much more than giving Reiki to yourself or putting somebody in a chair or a table and giving them a Reiki session. When you really work with the energy, you can integrate it into every single thing you do. And it's going to bring higher levels of awareness, higher levels of expansion, and it's going to bring light to whatever you're doing. And it's also going to help you stay in balance while you're doing it so that you don't get so caught up in the drama of what's going to happen or what the outcome's going to be. You can release all of that to whatever's for the highest good.
I love that. And it's my hope. It's been an overlying a theme through the whole book that Reiki is more than. You and I have the type of Reiki practice where we see clients and we teach sessions and we work with humans and we work with animals and we combine it with other things like animal communication and drumming and hypnotherapy and all of that. But Reiki can be so much more than that. It can weave into whatever whatever else somebody's doing. And that's what this chapter is about. It has been interesting that we have faced several obstacles in getting this podcast together and getting it recorded. We've had issues with technology, which we never have. I've had trouble getting this chapter finished and finalized. In fact, it's still not even finalized. And everything else in the book is in the final stages, and this chapter is still in process. And what that makes me think is that there are people that are going to begin weaving Reiki into what they already do. And I feel that it's going to really change the way they do things and potentially change the world, because it's usually only when something is really important that it gets a little sticky and a little more difficult to do. Before we go too much further, Julie, thank you for sharing that. I'm just going to invite everybody to join me in an invocation today so that we can all activate our Reiki energy and just listen with Reiki for the parts of this podcast that are meant to resonate with us. So I'm going to invite everybody to close your eyes and take a deep breath. Bring your hands into Gasho and breathe. Activating your Reiki symbols and breathing in the light of Reiki. If you work with enlightened beings or guides, just invite them to join you today and to assist you. The purpose of this book is to allow more of us to become comfortable sharing and spreading Reiki planet and in the world. Think about the impact that Reiki has had in your life, the opportunity that's in front of you now to share some of the beauty and magic, love and grace that Reiki provides with others. And we invite the Reiki energy to flow through you and just connect with what you're passionate about. Passionate about growing, and passionate about the law, about management, about business, about animals, passionate about helping others, about assisting people with mental illness, about health, holistic services, whatever you're passionate about. You'd like the Reiki energy to spread to through your passion, so you better understand today how Reiki can assist you. You can bring Reiki to your career, to what you love to do. And if there are any obstacles that would get in the way of this, we just release them with love now. The obstacles have served their purpose. They have pointed out to us, want to do this. So we release them with love. Embracing Reiki, trusting yourself. You have what it takes to spread this beautiful light in the world. Let go of anything that exists within you. To the contrary, invite Reiki to show you how you can integrate it into every aspect of your lives today. We invite the Reiki energy to help us listen, to balance our chakras, and invite each chakra to listen with our mind and our body and our soul and our emotions, just assimilating and discerning all of the information, distilling it down so that next steps become clear for us. And if you feel fear or the thought of sharing your gifts and your talents and abilities with the world, invite the Reiki energy to release them and to just show you your next step. That step is complete, the step after that. So often we feel a sense of urgency with this work. We surrender that urgency, sense of urgency, to Source. We invite it, divine timing, to take its place so that we can relax and enjoy the process. Thank you for being with us, and thank you. Receive many blessings as you step out of your comfort zone, as you stretch forward in offering yourself and Reiki, just the service of others and in the world and on the planet today. Thank you for your enormous heart, your generosity, and your willingness to share. We are blessed to be of a lineage of life bringers, creating wellness on the earth today. Namaste.
Beautiful.
Thank you. So, Julie, I just want to talk to you about the book, and who do you think can get benefit from it? Who will?
Let me say first, I love the book, and I read all the Reiki books I can find, and I would put this one on my top 10. So the things I love about the book is that it's very practical, and that anyone who wants to develop Reiki in multiple ways of whatever they're doing to create businesses, that this is a practical tool. I like that if you want to open a Reiki business, you can use it for that. But if you want to integrate Reiki into any other kind of business that you're doing, then it also applies to all of that, which is my experience with Reiki. I love that it has meditations, that it has exercises you can do that both help you to identify where you're headed or where you might want to go, or also identifying if there's areas that maybe you have blocks that need to be healed, or to inspire you to new ways of thinking and looking. I love that there's a lot of storytelling from different people about how Reiki has helped them expand and grow both personally and professionally in whatever they're doing. So I actually am once it's out in paperback, I'm going to offer a book club, and chat will every week we'll do the chapters because many of my students would be very interested. A lot of them may not be interested in starting a Reiki business, but they're very interested in integrating Reiki into other things that they're doing. And so I love that this book is all about using the tools that you learn in your Reiki classes to grow and expand in whatever your desires are for building or creating a business of any kind, really.
Thank you, Julie. That means so much coming to you because I think you are one of the busiest Reiki masters I know. I don't know how you do all that you do.
Reiki.
Reiki. People think I'm busy, and I'm like, you should see Julie's schedule. And I am busy. You've really made an art form of this. You've really incorporated Reiki into your own profession. Tell us a little bit about that and what that looks like and how you do that.
Okay. I am one of many of my occupations. I have quite a few. I am a corporate director for 9 outpatient mental health programs in LA and Orange County. I've been a registered nurse for over 40 years. My specialty is mental health. It has been almost the whole time I've been a nurse. I've always been very interested in how the mind works and also working with people with serious and chronic mental illness. I part of what I do in that job is I do all the training manuals for the psychologists, the therapists, and the nurses. I do for people that work in healthcare, you'll know what I'm talking about, performance improvement. I do forms and policies, and I help to implement processes within our clinics to provide quality care and to meet all the regulatory guidelines. Because when you work in a hospital setting, if any of you are from hospitals, you know that there's lots of different people that regulate us. And so I'm the person that tries to make sure we're following all the guidelines that we need to follow so that we can get paid and we can stay open. What I find since I learned Reiki is that I use Reiki for everything. Whether I'm creating a new project, whether I'm auditing medical records for appropriateness, whether I'm training new staff to learn how to work in a mental health clinic, both clinically, ethically, or documentation wise. I use it for staff and employee issues. I use it for staff meetings. I use it for myself so that I hopefully am an inspirational leader so that I can stay calm and centered, focused, grounded. I also like Reiki because it expands my perception. I love that when any situation presents itself, I know that I can use Reiki to look at it from different perspectives rather than just from my intellect and my mind, which is how I would have done it before Reiki. Now I do it energetically. And I always say that one thing I love that Reiki has done for me over the years, it has integrated the left and right side of my brain. Everything I do now comes from an expanded perception. Before Reiki, I was a very left brain, science-minded, intellectual person. Nothing wrong with that, but my intuition was not as strong as it is now. My ability to perceive things in new ways wasn't as quick as it is now. My ability to let things go and know when to step in and when not to. Sometimes Reiki will direct me that don't get in the way. This is something that people are here to learn and grow from. And other times Reiki will ask me to come in and it will actually guide me. I even ask Reiki to help me to speak in a way that people will understand or that people will hear things. I use it for clearing space. I use it for affirmation work. I use it for chairing meetings. Use it for creating new processes. Sometimes we have to develop new process. And I turn my Reiki on and I widen my perception and I ask that the information be downloaded in whatever way is for the highest good. And the inspiration just flows down in blocks of information. And sometimes I read what I do or I look at what I've created and I know that it's come through me, not just from me. So it's just a whole nother way of operating. It's a different operating system. If I was going to say I was a computer, I'm a different operating system.
I love that. And you say that you use Reiki in all these places. So tell us what that looks like. Like, how do you use it to chair a meeting? And how do you use it?
So, for example, I chair a meeting with all the directors of our program once a month. When I'm chairing that meeting, now we're doing it on Zoom, I clear the space, energetically, the space that we'll be meeting for when we're on the Zoom call. I clear myself so that I can be a clear channel and be inspired as I lead the meeting. I clear myself so that my ego and intellect doesn't get in the way of fully hearing what people have to say. I like to put affirmations into the space. So I may put affirmations after I clear the space. May all people feel heard. May they feel seen. May they be inspired. May they work collaboratively together. May they remember why we all took these jobs that we took to help people with serious mental illness. And may we be inspired to new ways of helping and growing both the business and the clinics, because as we all know, mental illness is a big issue in our country, even more so since the pandemic. So I put whatever we can do to be of the highest good. Probably the other thing is that, do I have things in my corporation that frustrate me? Absolutely. What I love about Reiki is that it's made me like a Teflon pan. It's not that I don't get mad. It doesn't mean I never get frustrated. It doesn't mean I never worry, but it doesn't stick. I can give it up to something greater than myself. I feel like I've been given the keys to the universe, and it's helped me to have patience because I'm usually a person that's very action oriented. And so what I love about Reiki is now I have the communication channel that says it's going to happen in divine time, not your time. Slow down, refocus on a different area. We've heard your request. It's going to be worked on, and it will happen when the time is right. And Julie, you don't always know, even though you think you might, I'm in the right time. So that's been one of the things Reiki really helps me with. To me, I can talk to Reiki like I can talk to you. And it's always life affirming. It's always compassionately directed in ways that I think help me be a better leader and better person.
Wow. And so Reiki in leadership and in management, it's so amazing. I know some of the topics that I tried to cover in the book is just kind of general, like here's some things you can do at your workplace. Here's how you can combine Reiki with medicine, with business, with management,
Absolutely.
holistic health, with beauty, hairdressers and estheticians, Reiki with teaching, Reiki with children, Reiki,
Yep.
how you can Reiki if you make a product, how you or manufacturer, how you can use Reiki, you can use it for the environment, with politics, with science, in accounting. You can use Reiki with computers and technology. You can use it with the service industry, with music and sound healing, Reiki with religion, if that's your profession, and,
Yep.
and then also spirituality. And I know that it's not an extensive list. And what I try to cover in the chapter is not extensive. It's just to open people's imaginations because look at all the ways that you've discovered to use Reiki in your very left brain, logical, mainstream, responsible job. And I think that this chapter is just meant to open people to the possibilities and get them thinking about, where can I use Reiki? I use Reiki to create my essential oils. I use Reiki in my horseback riding lessons, with my horses for that matter. Everything I do, I use Reiki. And Julie, in addition to using Reiki in your profession, the way that you do, you've also brought in a lot of holistic healing modalities. And one of the beautiful things about Reiki is it goes with all of those, doesn't it? I can remember reading about Reiki and Qigong and Reiki and acupuncture, Reiki and just about everything. And I've always, if somebody says that something is not compatible with Reiki, I always say, you really don't understand Reiki, because Reiki is compatible with everything. But tell us a little bit about your sessions, for instance, because you've decided that your sessions, they're Reiki led, but you use a combination of modalities. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. So one of my other jobs is I have an office in an integrative medicine clinic, which consists of 2 homeopathic physicians, some acupuncturists, a positive psychologist, and then I do energy work, and I specialize in also past life regression and quantum healing hypnosis therapy. So some of the other modalities that I do is I do crystal healing, I do intuitive life coaching, I do sound healing, I do angel therapy. I have to think if I missed something. And along with Reiki. When I do a session, if you're coming for a Reiki session, on my website, I have a whole page of what to expect in a Reiki session, because it could be a combination of a healing experience, Reiki session, and intuitive life coaching. It could be an angel therapy session. It could be sound healing. It could be crystal healing. So it could be a combination of any, I wouldn't say all of those, but any of those. And my sessions are usually an hour and a half to 2 hours long. And that could even include you sitting there for half of the session and talking to me about your issues. Because as soon as you walk in my room, I turn the Reiki on and I ask the Reiki to work with the person in whatever's the highest good. And what I find for some people is it works as they talk about the issues. So that's one of my sessions. I also do past life regression. So in getting the person to a regressive state where they're able to access those unconscious memories, I use Reiki. So I use Reiki with guided imagery to get the person in a state of being able to access past lives. I may even run Reiki while they're experiencing the past life to help them go deeper or to help them feel comfortable as they process through the experience. With my quantum healing hypnosis therapy, that one it could be a little different, because that one oftentimes has its own healing energy that goes with that modality, but sometimes I'm directed to incorporate Reiki into that also. So any of those, I'm intertwining Reiki in and out of the session as I'm directed to do so.
Beautiful. And have you noticed any difficulties or any obstacles to blending Reiki with other modalities?
No, actually, most healing modalities, and I've studied quite a few, Reiki is in alignment with what I'm doing. Probably the one interesting thing that's happened to me with Reiki, because people talk about different lineages of Reiki, is I have taken some different lineages of Reiki. I've been with 3 schools of Reiki, I guess 4 schools of Reiki over the years. And what's been fascinating to me is that it's been a progression of different Reiki lineages. And then the Reiki guides me to a different lineage. And then sometimes I've even taken classes where I take a lineage and I think, wow, this is great. I can't wait to use it. And when I get home, the Reiki says, that was an interesting experience, wasn't it? Oh, yeah, I really liked it. That's not meant for you to use. That was for you to experience and see the difference. But that won't be the lineage of energy that you'll be using in the future. So Reiki is like a school teacher for me. It also teaches me, it's helped me to understand that there's many different lineages and that the Reiki energy is all beautiful and wonderful, but it's like Baskin and Robbins ice cream store. It's all ice cream, but they all have their own little fingerprint. And you may like one fingerprint better than another, or that's what you're guided to use at this time.
Love that, because I'll encounter somebody who says that. I have friends and I wish we were all from the same lineage. And I say, no, like, people are always attracted to the lineage.
That's what I said. That would be my experience. And I would say that because I've been attracted to 4 different lineages over the last 20 years, because I always want to know more. I'm always like, oh, if the Reiki guides me, if it says, oh, that might be good for you to experience, I don't go in with any idea how it's going to transform, because I know that the Reiki's always guiding me. And sometimes it's just to have the experience.
Julie, what are some of the modalities that you've seen people blend successfully with Reiki? Maybe we wouldn't think about right off the top.
Oh, I could say one thing I do in my class is when I do introductions, I ask my students to tell me, what do you do for a profession, or what are your interests? Because I like to talk about all the different ways that they could integrate Reiki into their professions or their interests. So I have people of, you name it, and I've probably had them. It could be a stay-at-home mom who we talk about how you can use Reiki for parenting skills. We could have people with partners, how to integrate Reiki into developing a stronger and healthier partnership with your significant other or others or children or whoever. It could be people that own a restaurant, and we talk about how you could, what I call, bless your food and have an intentional kitchen. How you could even decide at some point having having your employees be Reiki practitioners, so that all the food that comes out of your kitchen is intentionally blessed with a high vibration energy. I have gardeners who want to have beautiful gardens. I have even people like accountants, lawyers. I say, you may think that you're just doing accounting, but you can Reiki your projects. You can ask that maybe as you're putting in the numbers, that maybe you're going to be inspired to how to look at those numbers differently, or how to help your clients look at possibilities differently, or maybe you're going to interpret the numbers in ways someone else has never interpreted them before, because Reiki is going to widen your perception. Everything you do is going to come from the left brain and the right brain and a wider perception. I talk to doctors and nurses about how when you meet with clients now, it's not only just what you read in a page or what you see on a lab report or what the patient presents. You can energetically tune in, and you may be inspired to ask questions you might not have asked before, because you have access now to a wider perception, and where you can get more answers to how you may be able to help people in ways you might not have thought of. When you're just using your intellect and your ego are limited. how I see it now is that they're wonderful, they're needed, that they help us, but they're limited. When you incorporate expanding the right side of your brain and you incorporate expanding your intuition, and Reiki can help you do that to widen your perception, then you can get more answers or more feelings or whatever you want to call it, maybe a knowing, or you're more open to getting new ways of looking at things.
That it, you mentioned that when you read reports now that you get that experience.
Yes. So I was saying an example might be that I'm training a new therapist and we're looking at they're just new in the field and we're looking at one of their clients. And I'm reading the documentation, I'm looking at let's say the psychiatric evaluation and the nursing assessment and the psychosocial assessment. I maybe am looking at collateral information, but I'm not looking at it just from a linear perspective. I'm looking at it from also tuning in energetically to that person. And I may be downloaded with questions or feelings. Have you asked the person about this? Have you asked the person about that? I'm getting a feeling this might be one of the core issues that they've been reluctant to talk about. You may want to look in that direction a little more deeply. And so I'm able to go deeper than what's on the paper. If that makes sense.
It really does.
Yeah. I think it's made me a much better clinician. It also helps. I'm also oftentimes downloaded with what interventions would be most productive to use with certain clients. And even though in the hospital setting, I'm a trainer, I don't work directly with patients, but I train the people that are directly involved. And oftentimes I get a lot of inspired direction on how the therapist might relook at how they're working with the patient. And I think that's a direct result of me using Reiki whenever I'm doing any of that work, because I realize that my mind is limited. And when I use Reiki as a way to widen my perception, then I come from inspiration. Some people would call it inspiration.
And of course, Reiki can cause no harm. And one of the things that people wonder about is permission. Do I have permission to use Reiki space or with this person, that sort of thing? And I try to address that in the book because one of the wonderful things about Reiki is it will never go against anyone's free
That's right.
will. So you can go ahead and use it. And if somebody doesn't want to receive it, so you really aren't limited by that.
Yeah, I agree. That's my perception too. And for me, I get very clear feeling or guidance when people don't directly want Reiki. But it's now that you're mentioning it, I never really thought about it before. When I'm looking at medical records, I can't think of one time when Reiki said, no, I don't want to widen your perception in ways you might work more linearly or direct staff in more inspired ways to create an atmosphere for growth and healing for a client. I've never had a no to that ever. And that's thousands of clients.
Thousands of clients. It is very seldom, and it does happen, but you can leave the discernment up to Reiki. It showed up with a lot of my medical, like doctors, nurses, veterinarians, and medical practitioners. They were they were a little bit startled because as they would treat a patient, sometimes the Reiki energy would activate and other times it wouldn't. And they didn't ask it to activate. It was just doing that spontaneously.
Yes.
And I liken it to the fact that your clients come to you for healing and they don't say, but I only want you to use the techniques that you used in your third year.
Yeah.
They say, give me all you got. Help me.
No. The clients we get are very ill and very desperate.
They are.
Now, that being said, I clear our programs every day energetically, and I put Reiki into the programs, but with the intention that it's available if someone wants it.
Right.
So if they want it, fine. If they don't want it, that's fine too.
I do that.
I'm not trying to, I don't talk about it. That's part of my job. I do it long distance every single day. Because you can imagine in a mental health program and anyone here that works in a healthcare setting, what are people doing when they're in a healthcare setting? They're fearful, they're overwhelmed, they're scared, and all of that is being left there energetically. It's like they're dumping it there. So if nobody comes in and clears out the trash, what kind of environment do the staff have to work in? Not a very good environment. And then you wonder why there's burnout. You wonder why people walk into work, especially in healthcare settings, and they feel overwhelmed, or they go home and they feel exhausted. Part of it is that somebody needs to be energetically clearing the space, and no one teaches us that. I feel like that was a great gift given to me when I learned Reiki, because I can be of service, because that's very important to me. That our clients at our hospitals have the best energetic environment and the staff to work in.
I agree. And I have some nurse managers and also even school principals
Same thing.
who began clearing their workplace.
That's right.
And they would tell me the staffing issues of themselves out. Everybody's getting along better, where everything flows easier when those spaces are clear. Have you noticed anything else, like since you started incorporating Reiki into your very mainstream work? What did you notice? What differences or what changes? What did Reiki bring to the table? You talked about the expanded perception, but did you notice any other tangible results?
For me, I would just say for me that like I said, that most of the time I'm more centered, I'm more grounded, I'm more compassionate. I think I'm a better leader. I also think that it's so interesting because maybe a lot of people on this call can relate to this. I can walk into one of our programs. I don't say anything. I just walk in and the staff will say, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here." I just know everything. Once you're here, I don't know, everything just feels more peaceful. And I'm like, I don't say to them, I know why, because I'm like a big ball of Reiki, but I know that's what it is. And so I love that I bring that to the workplace, because I love the people that work in our hospitals, and I want them to be in a positive environment. And I want them to feel a sense of peace and calm, because when you're in a place of peace and calm, you can work better. And even from a medical standpoint, we have thousands of research studies now that show when the leaders are calm and centered and grounded, and that it has a ripple effect on everything around. And I think this is one way to do it, where you want to be a successful leader. You want to provide a good work environment. You want to have inspired employees. You want to be an inspired leader. This is a very easy way to do it.
I love that. Julie, is there anything else you'd like to leave our listeners with? To
The only other thing I tell my students is be like a research scientist, because that's what I am, and try Reiki on everything and let it show you what's possible. Because my experience in 20 years is the only thing that it can't help you with is what your limitation, what you believe are its limitations. We're the ones that limit it, not the energy.
Oh, I love that. Julie, thank you so much for being here with us today. And I just want to thank everybody who showed up to listen. And I hope that the Reiki Business Book is going to help you get your businesses off the ground. Next week, we are going to launch the book with a podcast with Colleen Benelli. And I am hoping the book itself will be available to you very soon. Be able to let you know a little bit more about that next week. So thank you, Julie, and thank you everyone else for spreading the gift of Reiki in the world.
I highly recommend everybody buy the book and then some.
I did not pay her. Okay.
I'm going to be buying the book, and I'm not kidding. I'm going to have a book club.
No, I think that's a fantastic idea. I'm thinking, oh, I was going to do a course along with the book, but I like the idea of a book club. Maybe I'm going to follow your lead, Julie. That sounds like a fantastic idea. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Loved all of you. Namaste.
Yes, bye-bye, everybody.